These were my attempts. This is the one I sent the photo of earlier. So this is my first attempt. And I loved how it turned out.
Yeah.
And I tried it again. The only difference on this one is I soaked the paper, just the front surface, but I just soaked the paper first with just water and then went in with the same mix that I used on this one and just did the rest of this the same. So there was just more water in the paper here. And you can see the reaction from the salt is very different.
It almost looks like Spanish moss or a willow tree.
Right.
You know,
Yep.
different than the other. Yeah.
And I love what happened up top.
Yeah.
I was dropping salt in at different times to try and get a variety of effect. And I really like what happened here. But I ended up putting salt in too quickly because it was drying from here down. And so as I got about here, there was too much moisture in the paper for these effects, some of the sharper ones to take effect, and they all just kind of softened out. And then as it went down, the paper was even wetter and wetter. So I just didn't time it right. But that is kind of what I'm going for. I want a little bit of a variety so that it looks like some of them are closer to you, some of them are further away. And then some small, some large, which adds visual interest. And then after the fact, I went in with some indigo. This is all indigo paint, and just put some extra branches in. Scratching with the salt on the paper really didn't work too well. I was able to get some of it in here, some little scratching, but most of the scratches turned out dark because there was where the salt was, it holds the water. So that the paper remained very wet where the salt was. And where there were salt clusters, like here, I think here, maybe a little over here, but mostly this, like that spot, there was a big cluster of salt. So that took almost a whole day to dry.
Wow.
But this is just, I literally just put a wash of paint in, and while it was soaking wet, sprinkled salt in where I wanted the leaves to be, lifted out for some trunk and branches, went in with some dark paint, especially on this one, and added branches. Scratched out some in spots.
It was dry when you added the dark branches, right?
On this one it was.
Yeah.
On this one it was damp.
Okay.
It hadn't totally dried. And so you can see like some of them softened out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of the ones that are sharper are actually from where I scratched and it was still wet. So I ended up with a darker line.
Now on that one that you just had up in the middle, the white of the trunk going up higher. Yeah. Oops. Right in there. Was that lifting?
Lifting.
Okay.
Yep. I did on this one, for this trunk, I lifted out.
Yeah.
While it was damp, and I had to put saran wrap down at the bottom here, and kind of while the saran wrap was down, I sort of shifted it and pushed it a little bit into the paper. And I think that's what caused the texture of the paper to come through in some spots. But I really liked, I'm pretty thrilled with the saran wrap stuff. I think that's really neat. And then the same thing here, it was just wetter. So it's a little bit of softer texture. But the other thing I did here was where I lifted out for the trunk, I dropped water in and just let the water run. Because once it hit this area here, there were spots where the texture from the saran wrap had left kind of wet spots and where the paint was thicker.
Yeah.
And the water would run down and sort of split apart. Some ran this way, some ran this way, some went this way, some went that way. And so by just dropping water in up in this area, that water just ran down and connected the tree to the ground for me and just followed all the natural paths that it wanted to take. But I was psyched that this worked because it was just an idea that I had when I was putting the textures together for our last class. I wanted to be able to show what kind of the real world use would be for some of these textures. And this is what I thought of. And I was glad that I got the salt to work on these. Because that was kind of the main gist of it. I thought the salt for the branch or for the leaf textures would work really well. And I think if I can duplicate that in tonight's painting, we'll be in good shape. But it's gonna be tricky. Because when we use salt, it doesn't dry very fast. So let's get into that. In order to speed it up a little bit, I pre-drew a different tree just to mix it up a little bit. But the key was to just find this is from another reference photo. This is actually a tree that's on Kerner Farm up in Chadds Ford, which is where Wyeth painted a lot. But a really interesting tree, but I like the trunk shape. And the other thing I thought I would try is instead of doing it on the whole or on just half the page and going from end to end, because it dried so quickly from the edges and the top coming in, I was going to try this. And this way I can wet the whole paper and I'll have a little bit of a buffer of where the dryness is going to creep in, especially on the top. But that should buy me a little bit more time. And so I'm going to get my stuff ready here. Get my palette sprayed down. I'm going to go ahead and just use indigo again because I already have a bunch of it in my palette. But for people in class, I did bring a bunch of pigments that will work with salt. So if you want to use some of what I have that we know works, I'm more than welcome to do that. And I think everybody got some spray, right?
Yep.
Oh, it's salt, right? I've got plenty. I don't know what the easiest way to. I was thinking about this. I'm like, I don't have enough little dishes to bring, but even
There may be little dishes behind you in that. Yep, open that one bottom shelf on the right. Are there any little? Yeah.
You're awesome.
In my class,
I think I have enough from 2, 3.
painting class. We're going to have one on Monday. You and me and Ella. Okay. I think it would be fun.
I'm going to give you more than you need.
I have some.
Okay. You want me to use little dishes for it? You want me to use little dishes for it?
No,
Oh, you've already got it. You already have a game. So 1, 2. I'm not going to use the one. I'll just keep this.
And if you ever need a hair dryer, we have one of those in there.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, thank you.
You not recommend using a hair dryer with the salt?
I don't.
Okay.
Just you want the salt to really have whatever time it needs to dissolve.
Okay.
It's interesting what it does is it absorbs water.
Yeah.
And then as it absorbs, it also releases something.
Okay.
Saline or whatever, not saline, but something that's in the salt, because you get that push and pull effect. And you can actually see it when you put salt in on very wet paper. It will quickly change the moisture level where you put it.
Yeah.
And we should see that here. So I'm going to use a large brush. This is a 1-inch flat to do my wash. I've got a border here that's the same size as this. It's about 6.5 by 9.5, or 6.25 by 9.5 or so. I'll probably paint outside the lines. I'm not going to worry too much about that. I am probably going to lose. I went darker on my drawing because on these, the drawing just disappeared as soon as I put the first wash in, and then I was just guessing. Hopefully I'll be able to see a little bit more of that. But I'm going to get the paint ready. I'll get the paper wet, and then I've got all my tools ready to go.
So we should draw a tree.
Yeah, while I'm doing this, if you guys, if you want to watch and then do the tree,
Okay.
the tree shape it's important, but it's not the critical part of this for practice. It says, actually, I'm going to wet the paper first. Yeah, I'm going to wet the paper first because this is my good paper wetting brush. I should have brought a bigger brush for this, but this will work. And I'm just trying to get even coverage here. And then I'm going to give it a second to absorb. And I'm going to lift off a little of the excess. And so what I'm doing, I've taken the excess water off the page and then just drying the brush a little bit. That way I should get pretty even. Yeah, nice even sheen on there. And without hesitation, I'm going to go right in. Get a bunch of indigo paint. And the important thing here, even on both paintings, I thought I had a big enough puddle, and I did not. So it makes a bigger puddle than you think you need, but without it being too watered down, because you want some contrast here. Looks good. So I'm just gonna make sure I've got everything ready. I want a scraping tool just in case, my saran wrap. I've got my salt, which is most important. And we're ready to go. I might just be able to see that drawing in there. And I'm going to go a little darker. And it's okay to have variation in the background too. I think in the first example I did, I had a little bit of variation. In the second example, I think because the paper was wet first, it really flattened out a lot. And I just want to kind of, as the paper buckles, I'm getting kind of a raised spot there, 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 and there. And it's going to, all the pigment's going to settle in the middle. So I just want to try and even it out a little bit. But that's going to be good. And then I'm going to spritz the top a little bit just to give me a little more working time. And then kind of sparsely, I can just see my drawing. I know I want some leaf action there, a little there, a little there, a little maybe there. And then I'm going to stop with that. I'll go ahead and grab a smaller brush, and I'm going to take most of the moisture out of it. Not all the moisture. And then I want to lift a little bit where these trunks are and just sort of give myself a head start there. These will probably fill in a little bit as the paint moves and drifts down the page, but
So your paint, is that paint that you're using?
no, it's just a damp, clean brush, and I'm just lifting out a little bit. I know that's where I want the brightest whites to be, down here at the bottom of the tree. And then I'm going to go with my saran wrap. You can kind of scrunch it up into an interesting random shape here. And I'm just going to push it into the paper. Something like that. Let's see what that does. And then the connection here is important. And so I'm going to sneak under the saran wrap and connect the tree trunk. And I'm going to let a little bit of water get in there. That's fine. It's plenty wet anyway.
Mm.
But that'll just connect those two shapes. And then I'm going to come back in with a little more salt and just lightly in some areas next to where I already have salt. And then you can even add a very,
Did you just spritz before that or no?
no,
Okay.
no, just at the very beginning, just to put a little more moisture at the top. And then I'm just dropping very light, random salt grains around to try and give a little snowflake texture. Let's see, open in. I can tell it's already getting to a stage where I should be able to start scratching, but again, just a damp brush that I've taken most of the moisture out of. And I just want to lightly lift out. And then as I lift the paint, I'm going to clean it off the brush. And just create a little spot too. All right, and then from there, so I'm looking at the dryness of the paper, and it's dried the most over here. So I think I can just come in and do a little.
Did you re-wet it a little bit before you put the salt on, or is it just?
No, as soon as I put the first wash in, I just sprayed just the top, just very lightly, because it's going to dry from the top down. And that just buys me a little more time. But this part is all about random branch texture. And it's nice. I put less salt down so I have more room to put some scratches in here. And you can see where I'm starting to get into the wetter paper. I get the darker line, which is fine. It's a little more contrast. I'll add some more in other places too. So, but it's about, you can see kind of where the paper is the wettest, where the salt clusters are. So those are where the leaves are. I'm basically just thinking that's a cluster of leaves. There's a cluster there, cluster here, cluster there, and a cluster there. And it's just using these branches to connect some of those shapes. So overlap. Branch come over this way. And this way. But you get the idea. It's just a scratching festival at this point. So that's probably good. It's again, it's one of those things that's fun to do, but you don't want to overdo it. And I like what's happening. I want to take a little peek. That's working. I think what I'll do here is I'm going to do a little, see if I can get some tiny little blooms and just random spray patterns with just in water, just in clear water, a little toothbrush. And I'm just tapping off the excess because I don't want huge drops. I'm going to test a little bit over here on my towel. And we'll see if this even does anything. So you can see what I'm looking at. It's paper's hazed over. There's no gloss, no sheen anymore, except for where the salt is the thickest and where the saran wrap is, of course. And I can we may play around with that part a little bit, but I'm just I'm always paying attention to where the tree is connecting to the ground plane. And so there's a whole cluster of different weeds and stuff growing around the tree. So I'm just trying to spatter in with a toothbrush to get random blossoms and things happening there. It's a little too wet still. But I was going to go in. I'll wait. I'll keep an eye on this area because I wouldn't mind going in and just putting in some little scratchers with that too. I think the branches are where I want them. I think it's too dry to put any more salt in. I'm going to take this off and just see what I've got. That's working. And actually what I'll do is I'm going to take this off. And just for fun, I'm going to use a soft brush that holds a decent amount of water. And I'll come in and I'm just going to drop some water in here and let it run. And then I'm going to tilt the paper. And so this is just hopefully connecting the tree shape with all of this texture down here. And then I think what I'm going to do, try and get some more texture in this part here. Let's try this. I'm going to use some very thick indigo paint. And I'll come here and I don't want things pointing out of the page. So I'm going to try and bring brush strokes that come in this way. And I'm looking for kind of random, maybe some dry brush or just some dark marks that I'm going to then put some water into. And we'll see if we can get some more movement out of that. These are just basically directionals that kind of bounce your eye around a little bit. And then I'll go back and go back to my softer brush here, pretty much loaded with water. And above where I painted, let me see if I can hold this up so you can see it. I'm going to put the brush where the paper's dry above where it's wet and let the paint run.
The water run into the paint.
And just let it run down and see. I'm holding the board at a pretty good angle. Do the same over here. So it's just touching some of these areas that have the wet paint and connecting them to other areas. And I like that. And then just for fun, I'll put this back on and see what happens. And then I'll just let that sit. And I can tell in here, I should be able to scratch a little. So I'm going to get some darks. Yeah, it's kind of dark lines at that point. Oh, good. And then just to punch this up a little bit, I'm going to take a mostly dry brush with some dark, thick paint and create some more contrast here. And I'm kind of envisioning the light coming in from this side, so I'm going to put a little more on this right side. And then it's a lot of times what I'll do is when I put paint in, I'm going to grab a wet or damp brush and manipulate those edges. So I want to soften that. I'll just put some water here and let it run right down into the cellophane and see what happens. Trying to connect some of those. Create some. I'm just gonna let that go. See what it does. And what I'll do is I'll watch this area where I have a bunch of that rich dark. Once it hazes over a little bit, I'll spatter with the toothbrush some clean water and try and create some texture in there. And I can tell it's drying so quickly in here. It's already at the damp stage. So I'm not going to get a whole lot of movement. I'm sorry.
Nothing.
Oh, okay. So we're not going to get a whole lot of movement in here. It's not going to end up like this. Might end up more like that just because it's drying so quickly. But I can tell I've got some texture going on out here.
There was still a sheen on the paper when you started moving, so.
It was wet. Yeah, because I wanted to go just with little clusters of salt when it's very wet, so that I can try and create some of this very soft texture. And then as it dries, I went in with a little bit more salt to try and create a different texture. So I'm looking to try and get like some of the softness from the very wet paper, contrasting with some of the sharper texture on the slightly drier paper. And so at this point, what I'll do is I'm going to leave this to just dry. Like I said, I'll keep an eye on, I think I can hit that right now. Or maybe another couple seconds. But then I'm just going to let this sit and dry. And then if need be after the fact, I can come back in when it's totally dry and I can put some dark branches in, some shadows on the branches or the trunk. But I feel like it's pretty close to what I would hope for. Just see what that does. Might not do much of anything. Yeah, I'll let that sit. And so at this point, we can just watch and see what happens here. And I'll walk around in class and see if I can help anybody with anything. And then if anybody's online has a question, just unmute and let me know. Are there any questions at this point in class?
Not yet.
No, good.
You can pre-wet your page, right?
You did. I did. And then I just let it sit for a second, just so that it wasn't.
You spritzed it, or you did it with
No,
a wet brush?
yeah, with the same brush, nice big brush, and just really quickly covered the paper with water, and then let it. And then while it's still fully saturated, like as soon as you cover it with water, I'll dry off my brush, just tap it on my towel a little bit, take the excess moisture off, and then I'll drag that across and lift up the excess.
Okay.
It's going to be more important down from the middle to the bottom. Because like I said, I ended up spritzing the top again just to re-wet and give myself a little more time here. The other thing to mention too is I'm on a shallow angle because it works better for the camera. But if I was doing this at home, I could probably tilt this way up. You're going to get more movement out of the salt. And if I had time, if it was still wet, what I was going to do is flip it upside down and see which direction the salt moved. Because on this one, I think it was just the paper buckled a little bit in a way that made the paint and the water flow sort of down to the right. Like you can see it here. But I thought it'd be neat to try it upside down and let that texture go a different direction and see what that looked like. But timing wise, didn't work out for me there. But there's some interesting stuff happening here. And I know, yeah, at this point, I'm definitely better off waiting until it's dry. And then maybe even after I take the salt off and then come back in and put some shadow edges on these trunks and branches. Maybe add some dark branches, but then I'll be able to see too what I'm working with as far as the leaf patterns. I like that branch. So we'll see what happens with that.
Did you say we could borrow one of your paints if that's
Absolutely.
color?
Yeah. You want to use the same indigo?
Yeah. Squirt some in here once. What happens? Thanks.
Let me know if you need more.
Okay.
Does anybody else want to try any of these other paints? Just make sure. Be careful, too. There's a little bit of white paint, I think, in there.
No, is there?
It shouldn't interfere too bad, but just so you know.
Okay.
Probably a good thing that it's drying so quickly in here. It's already 10 to 7. It's amazing. I don't know if this is something that you all do. In order to get the most out of my paints, and you can kind of see it on the camera here, when I've finished using a brush that's pretty loaded with paint, I'll put it between my fingers and squeeze it out
Oh, wow, that's a good idea.
and squeeze the paint back into my palette.
Oh,
And that way I'm going to get longer life out of my water. I'm saving my paint. Indigo is kind of tough on, a little tough to get out of the brushes.
yeah.
And then you're going to get it on your hands. So just be careful with that. But it comes off your hands pretty well. Fingernails, not so much, but your hands. I've been painting with this almost exclusively for a couple days now, and I'm surprised my hands aren't totally stained blue. Yeah, it's a good idea when you're painting every once in a while to stop and look at your hands and just make sure you don't have any paint that you don't realize is there. I had a bunch of paint on this hand too. Yes, absolutely. I'll probably wait 10 more minutes and then take the saran wrap off so I can let that dry. And we'll see what we get down there. And then once this is dry too, the last step I'll show you is doing a little spritzing and then lifting up in this area, which I did not do on this one. That's just some random salt that got out there. But I did on that one, and you can kind of see the texture it gives you.
I put on too much salt and it went everywhere.
Oh.
So, it's my trees bushy.
Nothing wrong with that. What color is that?
Indigo,
Okay.
but it's, Windsor Newton, I think.
Oh,
I have both and I thought, well, you did the one, I'm gonna try the other.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think it's this one. I have another Windsor Newton that's older. Both indigo. This is a more recent. I know Jerry keeps saying, check where it's manufactured and everything, yeah. Who knows?
yeah, I think. Is it, pretty sure it's indigo has blue and a black and a purple. So indigo has indanthrone blue
I'm like in damn.
and lamp black.
In a lamp. Interesting.
And I think it's the, so that's indigo, I think. This one,
Interesting.
so let's just, notes.
Is there any concern about getting salt in your well of paint?
I don't think so. I'm sure I've gotten some grains of salt in mine, and I haven't noticed anything unusual.
Mine's more than salt wash.
I have heard of people using, I haven't experimented with it, but mixing salt water and
Oh.
going in with that. You know, instead of using just plain water to do a wash or run paint down. It does a different, I haven't experimented with it,
Okay.
but my understanding is that it'll give you different, a softer,
Or like your cypress tree.
I think so. Yep, yep. I'm gonna try a little. There we go, a little spritzing. So for that, I just sort of wet my toothbrush a little bit, tapped into my paint just a little bit, and then flicked it right down in that area, just for a little more texture. Mhm. I'm gonna go ahead and close this door because we're gonna end up with the band playing this.
Here's what which comes out nice. Mine doesn't dip all different colors. I don't understand. Really work. Yeah,
Oh, yours might be too dry.
is that what happened?
I think so.
So it's too late to do anything about it?
Oh, I don't know about that. What you could try is,
Can you wet it again?
I think if you wait for it to totally dry,
Yeah.
scrape the salt off, and then
Uh-huh.
do another wash,
Uh-huh.
or you might just want to try it again. with-
Yeah, I might try it on
Keep
here.
experimenting with it.
Yeah.
Because even at this
I'll
point,
do that.
got a little bit of moisture, looks like in darker areas. So I mean, you could try, if you want to try the toothbrush with some spritzing water or flicking water.
I'll do the other
a
side.
little
but yeah.
spritzing
I've
or
done it
something.
before where you remove, after it's dry, you remove the salt,
Yeah,
put in paint again, and then put the salt down again, different.
And
And it does, yeah.
that must be what my problem is. I'm letting it dry too much, even with the ones I did at home.
I think a lot of it is just the vents overhead raining down the warming air on us. And it's drying everything quickly, because I couldn't believe, as dry as this is my house, this dried faster,
Really?
which is really surprising, because it's really dry in my house.
Well, remember that sheet with
Look
Jerry?
what this is.
Yes.
That was.
Oh,
old-
no, I
old
wasn't
paper.
there for that, but,
Oh.
but I think you, or
Oh.
Bruce told me, I think you told me about it.
It was
Yeah.
fascinating.
Without the sizing.
You just watched it. The water, she put it on and it just, when it dried, just
Wow.
right towards, yeah. It dried toward the middle? Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah, it was
But
evidently.
it was Arch's paper.
Old
too, but
Arch's
it was
paper?
old, she said, yeah.
Yeah, and the sizing
Just
in the
on
paper
six.
will
Mhm.
sort of fade over time. And then you get weird reactions to the surface of the paper. Kind of inconsistent. Yeah, it's cool stuff.
So should I lessen here? You're saying put some dark,
I mean, if you wanted to, you could tilt your colors, kind of variety is doing.
yeah.
You might
is
sell
spritz it?
some dark paint in different areas.
Yeah.
You know,
Maybe that's right.
yeah.
That's okay.
Okay.
I'll just use this one.
But you
and
can
see if I can wet it up.
some dark paint in.
But I just put it
That's so, cause I wonder if that's
You kind of direct it.
different.
Okay.
Maybe it's the paper, maybe this tablet's about a
Put
hundred
some
years
dark
old.
paint here.
Am I
I
right?
think so.
Put under there and then I go through.
Yes.
Correct it a little.
Yeah. give it a
I-
little-
Maybe I'll,
Yeah. I'm
And
curious.
maybe a
too.
little bit more dark.
yeah, maybe
Yeah,
a
if you
paper.
would have-
in here.
Yeah, I think just the right.
If you have more light on one side.
Yeah, how wet was yours?
If you want
Was it
to have
like
I can
this?
see it, I can see it shiny.
Because I got it shiny and then it just
Like on
dried
mine, I
like
kind of
too
put more
quick.
darks on the right corner.
Oh, and I didn't make a tree, but
Okay.
oh, well, I'll have
Because
to
I
imagine.
picture the light coming in from.
Okay, mine looks like it's straight on.
So you
that?
can kind of go a little bit on both.
Yeah,
Yeah.
is
That's,
that
I
wet
think-
enough?
yeah, I think you go now.
Now I put in the color, holy crap.
Yeah, do you want to use this puddle?
Well, I already got the other color on this brush.
I said before that, it was the
Or they
rocks.
can use my brush.
Go in.
Oh, it's just that brush, okay, yeah.
Use this,
Yeah, and just right above it.
Yeah.
And let the water go.
and there's more,
Little left, little right.
more of the
Kind
color
of
there.
different connections. Look like.
Gotta add a
I'm
little
probably doing it across the whole world water.
Put a bucket more there.
Yeah, see, it's
Too much to do with the problem part.
Now, is it too dry already?
No, I think it looks good.
Yeah, I can wait with a little more. You have a, I'll make sure this is clean before.
Gotta work quick.
Yes, it's unnerving.
It is, it's all timing and it's,
Now I don't know
Yeah.
what we're supposed to do with the bottom.
oh, just, on the,
Not much happened with the bottom.
oh, but you already have the saran wrap on?
You did.
You got a little texture in there.
Yeah,
There's some cool stuff happening.
but then you went with the brush and did.
Yeah, I mean, so you have some, if you wanna go in with just some dark paint and just touch it where some of these darker areas are, and then maybe touch the bottom with a wet brush and let it flow, or put some water above it, tilt your board up and then
Just to see what.
just to let it go. Yeah, cause it'll kind of, sometimes it'll follow some of these paths. And just kind of work its way in different directions.
Okay.
But yeah, I love that texture. Yeah, cool.
This was also stuff happens, but. I think, I didn't put enough heat.
Do you already have the saran wrap on the bottom?
I had already done that.
Okay.
I took it off way before everybody else did.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And it has some texture.
Yeah, the instructions actually say that the people recommend to leave it on until the paint is dry.
Okay.
But I noticed in my first year with the saran wraps, that's usually how it's done. But I noticed in my first practice tree,
Yeah,
while it was still wet, I moved it a little bit
you said that.
and it changed some of the patterns. I think gave me more texture because the texture of the paper came through.
Mine had already pretty
I
much
took it
dried.
out and put it back down. I was like, more texture out of it. So you can still work with it while it's wet.
It seems like it would take a long time for it to really dry.
Yeah, especially with the saran wrap. Yeah, I should actually take mine off so it has a chance to dry. You can see what it looks like. But yeah, it'll hold that water. So wherever the salt is the thickest, the more the saran wrap is, it's gonna hold that moisture in. So there's a lot going on there, but that's pretty fun.
Okay.
And so in a situation like this, I've got some hard edges down here, but still some wet paint. So I'm gonna cover part of this and then spritz it. And just let some of that run. And kind of see what's happening there. And there. And I'll hit this too. Let that run. And that's just going to create a little more random texture here. And I'm just protecting the tree part of this. I'm focusing on that. Let me see what's going on there.
Hands off.
Uh,
Just make sure I got that cleaned out. You trying a different color?
Yeah, I used for a different color. They're both cool.
Yeah.
The salt just shows more on the blue.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of colors.
Right now.
That is an Enthradone blue,
Okay.
but it's a Da Vinci brand.
Oh, interesting. Messing with two?
Let's see, it's what it says up.
I was curious if it has the same pigments.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna say. Oh, it's kind of worn off, but it does look like PB60, which is the same.
Should be the same, should have been, yep.
So the grind might be a little bit different, but yeah, it'll be very close. And I think just for comparison,
What did you do in the bottom front of
I don't know what to do with the salt. But now you put your stuff on.
But it's too dry down there now.
I think that's.
so if you wanted to, and if it's dry enough, you could paint. You could put more paint on there and then put saran wrap back on.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm gonna
Maybe
do.
what's that? Just a
But that's Victoria's, so that's the end of Rose Blue from Daniel Smith, like fully saturated.
different color too. Not purple.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But it's a nice color.
It is fun. I like doing this.
I think it's enjoyable because you're kind of surprised with what you get at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this just reminds me of.
Thank you for letting me.
But they're not, they're bigger down here, so they're like the little ant, like down there looking at the big. That reminds me of like a volcano. And the eruption, and this is water.
I feel it's a nice spot.
Well, I was hoping for that, but thanks. Yeah, at least reminding me, okay. Yeah.
And what color is that?
Let's see, it was this one and that was, what, some parts. On it, it's just dark, I didn't have any show, but it was. And when you take the salt off, it might not be the same. Let's leave the salt off.
And that's the thing, how do you get the salt off? Mine
It
just
changes
goes
brand.
around.
Okay.
Yeah. Interesting. I just lost the. shot. If you could get the hang of it, it's good.
Oh, okay.
This was hard to repeat or something.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, I was just, I really like, and I just, yeah, because it's like. This is close to me, because what she was doing.
I think if back to the situation where you let this.
Do what?
You could glaze it out. Just get a layer effect.
Okay.
So it's probably gonna be subtle now, but you can build on it. Build on it. Okay, and I was telling Joanne too, you can drop in around as well. And then base the trees, you drop in some darker pigment, and then tip the board up with a wet brush, water. Just create its own little pattern.
Okay.
But just, little experiments.
Yeah, okay.
But I think contrast is really the only thing that's missing, and it's really, for my mind, right down to the bits of the tree, when it comes to bread. It's kind of the important part of it.
Right. Yeah, I'll try
The
that.
contrast.
Thank you.
Very good. How's it looking?
I like what's happening.
Oh, yeah, you're doing some cool stuff.
I have lots of
here, I did it twice, so I had it here, that was a lot lighter.
Mhm.
But this didn't, I didn't take the salt off yet, so this is just one. Yeah, and then it's to get it dry. But I just did like splatters and I did piles.
Okay,
So I have these things that are dark are basically more piles.
gotcha. And so if you're working flat,
Yeah,
you're gonna get, sort of a consistent, pattern for the saw.
right,
If you do it, if you tilt the board up, especially pretty steep one way,
yeah,
you'll get more movement.
more movement, okay,
Like the second, that's like an example I painted, and you can maybe somewhere in, like I was thinking that the sweet spot for me is somewhere right in the middle of those two paintings.
yeah.
It's great. Just being,
What, is that what you tried to use there? Yeah, this sort of just went on. it.
That was his color. He gave me that dark.
exactly.
I did.
It's indigo.
This, yeah, I just did straight paint on that, what I did was.
Prettier.
I
Yeah,
sprayed a
a
bit,
salt reaction.
this.
Well, maybe I did
And
it
also
too
with this.
dry, but I didn't.
Kind of,
Yeah,
and
that's
then
so.
waited for it to dry and then just very.
But this I did do clear,
Yeah,
once I had it wet.
And I most of the different things, which are.
yeah, and these almost look like rocks on the bottom of it, that it's ceramic.
So it's cute, but at least the lighter, because you've got most of it. Sort of near the focal point here.
Yeah.
And getting closer to the trees.
Right.
Exactly.
That's right, and this almost looks like, if I'm thinking maybe I should just rub some of this out, almost looks like the clouds way in the back.
And this one you could
So
so
I
just
should
experiment
maybe-
since it's already ruined.
Well.
I mean, I think it's kind of cool, but
Obviously,
obviously.
I didn't know it was like the
Yeah,
bottom.
wet it out.
I never know. What do you think?
Go, yeah, I think.
It's bright, this stuff's dark.
Sounds like the light starts this way, yeah, right,
You follow that,
yeah,
to get a little lifting, maybe
A
a
little
little
bit.
bit way.
yeah, okay,
Just, because you've got, I was there,
Right.
you can just soften out this way a little bit,
yeah,
just to kind of make a transition.
right,
But then, yeah, follow the same, that little leg underneath for the shadow on top.
okay,
Very cool.
this is fun,
I'm glad.
it's really fun. Everybody's playing.
Look at us, I see his work. That's
I know, where it's all, what it does.
very cool.
Yeah. So what's another color besides the indigo or what other color?
Any of the Joseph Vukovic, warm gray, cool gray, and neutral gray. Those are Daniel Smith colors, but also like a neutral tint, Indian throne blue. These purples work well, the carbazole violet and quinacridone purple.
Let's see if I have any of those.
Permanent orange reacts well, but it's not the right color for this application, I don't think. Let's look at, so if you all want to, you're more than welcome to come up and take a photo of this,
Oh, yeah.
so you can see what the colors are,
Yeah.
if you can read my writing anyway.
Oh, okay.
It was the same salt application, it's just that the colors accepted differently.
Exactly, yeah, for whatever reason, there's something in the pigments that makes them react differently, because I tried to time everything the same.
Yeah.
It was a little drier at the top than it was at the bottom, but pretty wet,
Mhm.
and, yeah, I was just surprised at how
Yeah.
different.
Huh.
You know, like some of these, because I thought maybe the darker colors would be the ones, but some, not always.
Yeah.
They don't always react,
Yeah,
especially I was really surprised.
yeah,
I mean, there's some neat stuff happening there, but it's really subtle,
right, right.
not like. But I can leave that out so people can photograph it. Dry time.
What?
Let it dry?
Yeah, because it's still some in here.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now my tree's full lately.
Made it more interesting. It did.
Well, it's already ruined, I couldn't ruin it. Yeah, it did make her mad. This makes it, the leaves are dancing.
Yes. we could do something to make those snowflakes, what would you paint to make those? More thick?
A little house with a roof.
And the snow on the roof.
Yeah.
I think I'm dry enough, the painting's dry enough up here. I'll show you what I'll do to do a little bit of spritzing and lifting. And this is indigo.
And look at the difference in your in. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Cool.
So I'm going to kind of focus up in this top part here. Just so if I get this.
What's your plan? What are you shooting for?
So I'm going to try and get a little bit. There's some salt that I sprinkled out here that gave me a little bit of effect. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to spritz,
Yeah.
leave little random water drops. I'll let them sit for a second or a few seconds so that they reactivate the paint that's underneath. And then I'm going to blot them out. And so it's going to give me a little more random spotty texture. But the trick is to use a water bottle. It spits, it creates a bunch of little dots. It doesn't create a mist.
And that's what you want.
And for this, that's what I want. Yep. And I'm not pushing all the way down. I'm just squeezing it enough to kind of spit some water out of it.
But why don't those run?
They're too small.
Okay.
Yeah, the paper's dry enough.
Oh, I see.
But I'll let them sit for a second.
Blooms, basically, right?
Yeah.
Not really blooms because the paper's dry enough that it's not going to react that way. But what it does is just the water will, once it sits for a second, it's going to reactivate and loosen up the paint that's underneath those dots. And then I'll lift it and I'll get, some of them are going to come off with a lot of paint, some of them with a little bit of paint. And so I should get a little bit of a random texture.
Pushed in, it would almost be like a bouquet.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Added paint, these turn dark.
But that's good.
Let's see if I get anything out of this. Might need to wait. It's also kind of it's not a very heavy wash. It works better when it's nice and dark
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Mhm.
I don't think I can get it out. I tried.
Let me, I'll let it sit for a little while longer too. Of course.
This is this, I think.
Thank you.
Did you do that from a photo or?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, my wife took a photo.
Oh, that's even prettier in person than over
Oh.
looking on the phone.
Yeah,
Much
yeah,
nicer.
yeah.
Thanks very much.
Now you put some spot leathers.
You're right, that is the focal point.
Yeah, I like the moodiness. Whenever I get a photo and I'm working around and trying to find the painting in it, I'll crop it different ways. I'll make it a vertical or a horizontal. And when I thought this was just too much. I really liked kind of the moodiness of that.
Mhm.
And like, that's what I could probably capture there.
Yeah,
But I kept losing the light.
yeah,
And that was kind of the bulk of the painting. And so I thought having the sky
yes.
lets me keep
yeah,
that light.
Yes, yes.
Thanks very much. Mhm. No, we'll just sit here and take a picture.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
Let's see.
I thought that mine got too wet.
Yeah, it's a foot mountain too.
Yeah, I'm not sure this is going to do much. I think my background wash is a little too light. And it's possible that the indigo is just not going to lift enough. So a little bit coming through, but not a whole lot. Pretty subtle.
Each one's gonna be different. Think that.
Yeah.
Just add much.
No, yeah, I really didn't. It's very, I mean, there's a little bit of texture in there, but I think the background's too light. If I had a
Right.
heavier wash.
But you just wanted that for background effect, not part of the tree.
Exactly. Yep. Just for something in the background. Add a little texture back there.
Are you still not taking the salt off when it's still a little bit damp or not?
You're still grabbing
Yeah.
with paint and scraping it.
Okay, so just leave it.
Just leave it. Yeah, let it dry.
Let's try to some of this, it's actually far out.
It can be, one of the tricks for getting the salt off
Yeah.
is to use a palette knife,
Oh, okay.
just a light.
But then I put a little scraping.
Yeah, I mean, if you keep it. So just talking about removing the salt, I found that using one of these palette knives, I'm sure this one will work as well. You just want to go at a shallow angle, so you're not scraping too much that way, but and just lightly,
Okay, like slicing.
Yep. just lightly brushing it off. So you're trying to get under the crystals.
Okay.
Yep.
You should paint out the hallways from 10 degrees cooler out there.
Oh, is it really? Is it too warm in here?
I think. I think it's perfect. That's an so. You think it's warm?
No.
Oh, we don't.
It was warmer when I got in. He turned it down a little bit. So it would have been even warmer in here, but
Yeah. No, I mean, I like it warm.
okay.
I mean, it might be warm to paint dry.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. I also, I needed thicker paint, so I learned that. It's a happiness, but
Yeah.
this came out much better.
Right.
And then I didn't think of put snow around here. That was silly. Well, there's, I mean, I guess there could be snow on it. No. Well, the tree and not being out there.
But when you sort of back, then you got some sparks.
Yeah, I don't jack them straight, so it's up.
Oh,
It's not, that's wrong. It's fine. So. Yeah, well, I painted most of that.
Pretty sort of.
I was just charging pink.
Dryer. Absolutely.
Nice.
Good self-contained. Yeah, and turning, no, no, but you're not cleaning yourself.
Anyway, that was for.
You know, there's.
Oh, yeah. That's.
It's a lot. Very fun with that though.
Yeah, very fun. Just enjoyed it. I had toaster salt. It was supposed to be coarse,
Oh,
but it didn't do bitter. Regular salt.
so you added some of that.
No, I didn't do any of this. This is what I did.
Oh.
I've never had much luck with the coach
Really?
either. Yeah, I tried that. And I tried, like Himalayan,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, sea salt or.
Yeah.
whatever,
Himalayan. Didn't do anything either.
No, not really.
Yeah, I now have a collection of salts at the house that we're stocked up on. Did you get a photo, Linda?
Yeah, oh, but let's do that. Sorry. So that's, yeah, I want to do both.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think they would like it. Or something similar, like any of your boat pictures or your scene, because that's their big
Right.
people,
Yep.
you know, what can I say?
And that is the Jersey Shores. That's
And I will say, the men,
I get all the scraps.
would, if they hear there's a ship in it, you'll have, yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, when I talked to Sally up there, she was a little concerned that if I'm
They will.
end up
It's only.
teaching a class with some of the older gentlemen, like to take those classes.
Yeah.
So they may be a little rough on you because you're not, you don't have level of experience that they're used to. So she said, maybe position the class a little under that crowd.
Yeah.
And so I'm picturing more like advanced beginners and early intermediates.
I would say, my opinion.
Okay,
They are. They are.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, but some of them may be very timid and don't think they're, in some
Gotcha.
catch me.
Right, right.
I had that whole packet that Audrey gave us of that. You want to see what, like, not that you have to give a packet or, but it has her bio. All that. It'll give you some ideas. As soon as I get it back, I'll
Yeah.
give it to you, Jerry.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, because
Yeah.
Sally sent me some links to some of the other product descriptions and things, or the class descriptions.
Yeah.
And things like that. So I have examples to go
Yeah.
by, anything like that. What I'm gonna try and do is, like my materials list.
Yeah.
Is basically gonna be whatever you already use.
Yeah.
You don't need to buy new stuff
Right.
for this, it's not that kind of thing.
Well, I will say the other thing is, with Audrey, when she gave us that. It had everything in there about color blending. You don't need all that, but you can look at it and see maybe for a future 3 days.
Sure. Oh,
But-
yeah.
But she didn't go over all of that. She just said, this is what's in there if you want to look at it later.
Okay,
But she focused on what she was doing, so.
that's good to know.
Yeah.
Appreciate the info. Excellent. It's just fun stuff.
Yeah, it's fun. This was great. This looks really better. I just read her. This is
Okay.
and it was the Queensbury that.
Oh,
Yeah. If the next.
So
Yeah, I have, so that's why I was following that.
you can always make sound.
And I just.
Precious rights.
Okay.
Nice. Everybody.
Yeah.
But it's still cool, thank you.
It is. No time to sometimes have a good Thanksgiving. Cook.
Sorry, are you cooking?
No.
No. You can cook, but you don't cook.
I'm getting better at cooking, but yeah, the turkey dinner, not that enough. Not that enough. Yeah.
Will Karen do that?
Thank you very much.
And,
And, so you're sending us something, what is it you're sending, or the name of the?
I'll send a follow-up email. A name and address to probably that, and a link to his website or whatever. So, what Watercolor Society.
My sister does.
Enjoy.
She always likes to do it. I do the bacon with the pies.
Get that done.
But I just like the cheese.
Send it through with
Yes,
some different stuff. Yeah, for.
Anyway.
So they can get.
Yeah.
Be more.
Like this, I mean, I'm just like.
I want to speak to them.
Next. Or something. I think. It was the summer. In October. Happy holidays. Thanks, so quickly, the girl down to one day session. Now, if she doesn't. That's then they read it, that. And the next one, and then somebody would have days in the shop, and I said, well, look it up, because there are different people who are doing volunteers.
Anybody online?
But it's worth it, it doesn't, like, last project. Always pick birch trees, how to do it before, I was good with that.
Am I muted?
And everybody, she's.
Anybody online? Okay.
Yeah, she's gonna.
One sister really close to the other one.
What?
I mean, it's just different.
Can you hear me?
You know what?
My other sister, she lives.
And she's like, here. She's the one I went to.
I'm gonna go ahead and end the recording.
She was better than mine.
Thank you all for being
But,
here.
Thank you for having us.
Pleasure. My pleasure. I enjoyed it a lot.
She's.
And I'll keep everybody posted on springtime
Okay, cool.
classes. And,
I would like to have this artist.
Thank you, Devin.
my pleasure. Thank you. I'll send an email out with photos of things or links that I mentioned earlier. Do a follow-up email for everybody.
Great, wonderful.
It'll slow down.
Bye.
Thanks and happy holidays. Have a thank
Happy holidays.
Absolutely. Thanks, you guys. Have a great night.
Bye. Thanks.
Where I have my horses, according to, it's just like.
So I'm starting out by spritzing the paper again. I know that getting the most reaction out of the salt, it depends on the moisture level of the paper, so I want to make sure I have a little extra in there. Mixing up a nice puddle of indigo. Trying to get about a coffee consistency because I know that once I put it on the paper, there's going to be more water in the paper. And so it'll thin it out a little bit, but you'll see that I end up going back over this again. Trying to dance around the tree trunks a little bit. And the softness in the paper also helps keep soft edges and lets everything kind of blend together, avoiding brush strokes. Turning the paper over for some directionality in the salt effect. Sprinkle a little more salt in. I have the paper tipped up pretty far here to maximize the movement. And I'm just spritzing some more water in here, just trying to get a little more texture out of it. At the same time, I'm also watching the moisture level of the paper, and as it dries, I'm just adding a little bit more salt in areas to try and create a little bit more variety in the effect. You can see where the dark branches that I've scratched in earlier are still absorbing the paint and showing up as black. Doing a little bit more lifting here to try and bring some more of that tree shape out in the trunks and some of the more major branches. Half-inch flat brush works really well for that, creating nice, sharp, crisp lines. Paper's kind of hazed over, so I sprinkled a little more salt just to see if I get a little more out of it. Just spattering in some thicker indigo paint. Just try and create a little bit of contrast in the canopy of the tree. Creating a little shadow on the branches, and I thought it looked pretty nice, but I ended up kind of darkening everything so much those disappear anyway later on. And here I'm just going in with very thick indigo paint, create some texture around the base of the tree. And then down into the foreground a little bit as well. Using a larger brush for still with thick paint, just trying to create some more texture. Some interesting marks in the foreground. Add a little bit of cling wrap to that surface, but you'll see when I remove that cling wrap, wasn't thrilled with the pattern it created, so I continue to overwork that part as well. At this point, this is just an experiment of a painting, so it's not like I'm concerned about the end result as much as I am about just seeing what I can do, how far I can push it, what happens as I push it. Spattering, spraying more water, spritzing, adding more paint, charging thick paint into wet paint. Didn't time my scraping very well. Didn't do a whole lot there. And I just sprayed some water in that foreground area to try and soften things out a little bit. Still wasn't thrilled with it. I keep losing the contrast there, which is part of the problem. And so in order to try and bring some light back into it, I keep painting more darks, but just spattering again for some more texture. And still wasn't satisfied with the amount of contrast I was getting in the sky. Everything dried pretty light. Although I was happy with the kind of the texture and the shape of the canopy of the tree. It just wasn't standing out enough. So again, spritzing it for soft edges and help everything blend and soften a little bit, and just go in with more dark paint. Doing a little bit of negative painting around the canopy and around some of these branches. And adding a couple spots up in where the leaves are just for some sky holes. A little bit of leaf and branch texture and some contrast. More spritzing and spattering. And then I've tipped the board up again. Try and increase the amount of movement. And then as it's drying, I can tell that it's still lightening up in the background, so I keep going in with thicker paint. And just trying to get the contrast that I'm looking for between the background and that tree. And then connecting it to the foreground. And at this point, I'm just spinning the board around and spritzing a little bit, trying to get a little more movement and soften some of the details and texture in there. A little bit of lifting, help bring some more contrast out of it. Just lifting in spots there because I want to maintain some of the variation in the canopy. A little more salt. At this point, I don't think the salt is doing a whole lot, but no harm in trying. And you can kind of see here now as the sky is drying and I'm spritzing that tree, I'm creating basically a blossom around the edge of the canopy, especially on the left-hand side there, but also some on the right. But I'm not worried about that at all. I'm just going to go back in. I can spritz a little more on the outside around the sky there, and I'll just go back in with some thicker paint. If I were to leave it, that effect would continue to get a little more pronounced. It's recovering a little bit of light on the trunk there and on those branches, and then trying to tie in that horizon line a little bit, the base of the tree. Just trying to create some dry brush strokes there on that horizon line and keeping some visual interest there in an irregular shape. You don't want it to be too straight or horizontal or anything. Try and keep some interest in that. And just to draw the eye into the center of the paper, I'm spritzing a little bit around the outside there, just softening some of the edges on the horizon line between the sky and the horizon and the foreground. Trying to give a little bit of a spotlight effect on the tree itself. And again, just adding more darks to try and make the lights that are still there pop a little bit more. Dropping in some water, just clear water, to see if I can create some runs or any more interesting texture there, but it was still pretty wet, so not much happened. It just kind of softened some things out. This one. And so I'm just going to start with very light taps, and I'll gradually get a little more intense as I go here. And it's nice to not do the same tap over and over, because then you'll get the same size dots. And I want to get some variation in that. And then so I'm gonna buckle this paper a little bit so I can try and not flatten against that part. But I just want to try and get up in here. And again, start with light taps, get small dots, and then I can click it a little harder for some larger spatter. And I'm rotating so I don't get, because you're going to kind of get lines. You want to mix it up a little bit and keep it random. So we'll see what that does. And I'm just being careful because I have wet paint here. I don't want to smear the paper when I lift it off. So I'm just taking care to do that. I like that. I think what I'll do is I'm going to bend this so I can kind of hover the paper above all of that. And just around the core of the tree. And actually, since I've got kind of a shape here, I'm going to go for, take advantage of that. And I'm going to use this and try and get just to some larger spots in the middle here. Again, just thick. I'd say like a cream consistency, as opposed to a coffee or a butter. And then same thing here, I'm going to start light and just kind of see what I get, and that's almost all I want. Let's see, one more. There we go, just a couple. And now I'm going to spritz that a little bit with a fine mist spray and just soften some of that. I'm going to hold this up a little bit and let it move. I'm going to take a damp brush and get most of the water out of that, and come in and just want to kind of adjust and make contact with some of these, give them a soft edge, let them fade out in one direction or another. I'm just trying to keep it very random and organic. And once I've picked up paint from somewhere, I might move over here and drop a little bit in. And I'm trying to avoid making any patterns. I want to keep this random here. Take some of these out here. Now I'm at a point where I have enough paint on here. I need to clean that off. I'm just starting to move it around instead of lifting. And I'm going to come in here and lift a little. Just very random. I think that's good. I think I like what's happening here. I'm just going to try and add maybe a little bit more up in this direction and then a little bit more down here. And then we'll leave it. And since I know this is a little bit wet in spots and from spritzing it, I have some thick paint on here. I just want to be, again, random with where I place these and keep adjusting the size. I'll overlap what I already have, which will kind of tie it all in. Just trying to create some random areas where you can see through this tree. And it's dry here, so I'm getting hard edges, but I'll come in, I'll paint a little bit, and come back in and use a damp brush. Just knock some of those edges off, soften things over. That's good. Getting almost pure pigment from the well here. I'm just going to add some very dark spots, just in places. And I'm just varying the size, the placement. Kind of flicking the brush one way or another. Can use my finger and rough up some of those edges. I think I'm just trying to create a little more visual interest and depth right in the core of the tree there. But I'm happy with that. It's the kind of thing that's fun, and I feel like I could keep going with it, but I want to stop and I'll let it dry over and see what we end up with. And I can't resist. Just do a little. It's too fun. Again, I'm going to take my soft brush with just clear water. And I'm taking most of the moisture out, but not all of it. And then I'm just going to come in here and just soften some of these. Maybe when I touch it, I'll give the brush a little flick, which is just going to make it soften out in one direction. And again, I'm going to keep that clean. I want to keep the paint off of it. I want to be using water while I'm doing this. I like that.